Happy Friday. Oh, what is that sound? Oof.
Oh, is that you want to, is it your you probably
There
got
we
it in
go.
the background, huh?
Yeah, I know, got an echo right there. Like, where's that sound coming from? It's like it's
I
an
do it every
echo.
time, man.
All right. Hey, happy Friday, everyone. It's Memorial Day weekend. I hope to give it a good kick in the pants for you all to start the weekend. And maybe there's going to be a sale, and hopefully some of the questions we answer today will answer your questions about TVs and whatnot. So today, I want to go over the general identity, personality of each brand, because many of you don't have a lot of TVs. Maybe your whole life you've owned a Sony or an LG or a Hisense, but then you're wondering, hey, what's on the other side? Like, what's it like to be an LG owner if you've always had a Samsung, or you want to try Hisense and you've always had a TCL, right? So today, I hope to, with a broad brush, tell you what I believe are each of these companies' main objectives. And we're going to use a few comparisons and videos and whatnot so that I can show you guys, hey, consistently, these brands appear to isolate these things. And the reason why they cannot be a jack of all trades is, well, simply they don't have the resources, and you do want to pay a reasonable price. And sometimes it's not possible. Some technologies are mutually exclusive, right? If you go to this, you might lose that, right? If you focus on avoiding burn-in and you go QLED, well, your deep blacks are compromised. So each of these brands have their little special something. And with that, oh, I should ask, hey, Brandon, how are you doing? How are you doing this week, man?
I'm good, man. It's okay. People don't know. We were talking before it starts, so we're like backstage chatting it up. So he already said hi to me like 3 times, and we're talking about what we're doing this weekend and all that.
And one of the things I'm really interested in comparing, now that we're talking about it, is did you get a chance to compare the Sony A80G with the LG G1 head-to-head at all this week or last week?
Well, I have the footage of the 4. I had the footage of the 4 TVs. So I wasn't able to match it up, but no, I'm going to do that. I know people were asking about that because of the differences, or because of how similar actually they are. But I think, it may come down more to like the gaming versus not gaming on those two, because, they both have alternative models. So it's kind of like we're starting to split hairs with all these 4 TVs or the 4 OLEDs. But no, yeah, I'm excited to get a chance to check them out. We'll see. I have some info on the G1. I'm doing that installation video this weekend. So that's taking most of my time this week.
Awesome. And before we jump in, I think Vamps, thank you for the super chat. And you have a question. Let's hit that real quick. Hi, FOMO. Finally got the 83-inch A90J ordered. Okay, so this is our dream TV. We both love the 83-inch A90J, even though we haven't seen it, but we just imagine how good could it be bright. And got it for $69.50, so $1,000 off, right? So MSRP is at $8,000 with a 4-year warranty from my distributor. That's a great deal. I see people just paying $8,000 up front only because they're afraid they might not get it. So that's a pretty good deal. What do you think about that, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know that there's a little bit of markup there. We were thinking maybe that they wouldn't discount that TV, but maybe it's just going to be this kind of free-for-all where people that distribute this TV are, with there being a couple thousand extra dollars in there for, profit, that people might just say, hey, if I get a few of them in here, I want to get them out the door, and I'll cut my own profit by selling these quicker. And maybe that's what they're looking to do, because I mean, it's an awesome TV and people are stoked to get it. So maybe it's going to be like the PS5 where everyone wants it. But in this instance, he's getting it for $1,000 less. So that's awesome.
And I think this is a perfect segue into Sony. Like, he's paying $7,000 for an OLED A90J 4K TV, even though it is 83 inches. People are saying $7,000. What makes this 4K TV special? Because normally at that price, you're expecting 8K. So I think it's great to start with Sony. Why people buy Sony, and the emphasis is that Sony really represents what the creators intended for a while now, right? Whether it's a Sony camera, Sony equipment, Sony makes pro recording gear. Now they also are selling OLED TVs for the last several years that they claim, Master Series, or you want to call it Trinitron, or they have so many different brands and trademarks over the last 30 years, but it's always the same thing. Their focus is on color accuracy. And so people who do like Sony color, it's because they want to know what the cinema, the creators, what do you expect to see in the movie theater, right? And I put Panasonic in there as well, even though we don't get it in the USA. outside of the US, Panasonic is similar to Sony. They too provide Hollywood and the movie industry with real cameras, professional level cameras, and their monitors, not many people know, are as good as Sony, and some say better. This past year, I think last year, they released their dual cell mastering monitor, the Megacon, right? So Panasonic and Sony, both of those, people select them for ultimate and color accuracy, and that's been their reputation. And this is the best part. It trickles down to their lesser models, whether it's the A80J or the X90J, even the X85J. Out of the box, the Sonys consistently, they're fairly great in terms of accuracy. I've never had an issue with Sony colors, and out of the box, many people who don't want to calibrate, more likely than not, your Sony comes out of the box pretty close, and that's always been what they've done well. So here's the irony. This year, Sony decided to take a different tack with the XR cognitive processor. And as I'm testing the A90J, I'm thinking, it looks like Sony wants to do a little bit more. It does give you the option of maintaining accuracy, but as we go to some of the samples, you'll see what Sony's doing. I don't think it's gone pretty crazy. Hey, there he is.
Hey, what's up,
welcome
fellas?
on, buddy. Hey, how's your nap, man?
Nap was good, but I totally forgot that today is prom, so I'm gonna have to duck out before 4 to take pictures and you know, all that stuff. Well,
sure.
I don't know.
Who are you taking to the prom, man?
No, it's my teenager's prom.
Oh,
dude,
okay.
come on, my teenager. There's a reason why it says dad after techno. There's a it's not just for not just for kicks and giggles, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Hey, keep it classy. Thank you for that super chat. He's learning to stop the FOMO. And again, he chose the 77 A80J and not FOMO-ing for a larger 83-inch. And again, he's choosing the Sony because of their accurate colors, but it doesn't always mean great things for all people. One of the issues with Sony, because we have to go to some drawbacks, we're going over the different brands, Chana, and what they kind of represent. One of the issues with Sony is in order to maintain color accuracy, they don't get as bright as other TVs. Samsung, I would say Samsung invented the display mode at any given store. Costco, Best Buy, they realized, wait a minute, if I give the store this special vivid mode, this store display mode, I will outsell every TV because people are like birds. They see a bright light, like, oh, that must be a great TV. Then they bring it home and the eyes start to fatigue, and then they look for other ways to tone down the brightness. And so,
dude, I had to do that last night.
Oh, which TV? The Samsung?
The Samsung QN90A. So bright, so bright. And if we're talking about PQ, like, I don't know what it is about Samsung's game mode, but it is blindingly bright. Like it, I remember it took me hours to get the calibration on the game mode for the Q90T correct, because it was just so like, when I got it correct via the graphs in Kalman, and I went and played the game. Oh, it looked like ass. Like it was just so bad that I had to, it was dark. It was like the colors were just all weird and shifted. So I had to bump up the gamma a few times. So like I ended up gamma at gamma -2 was perfect by Kalman standards, right? Yeah. And it wasn't like I had to bump it up to like +1, +2, which meant the color shifted. So I had to recalibrate again. So it took a while. So I don't know what it is. And like last night, man, it was so bright. I had to turn down the brightness. I didn't have my calibration tools.
Did you have the, what do they call it? The contrast enhancer on? That makes it even brighter.
I don't know, whatever it was at default, because I didn't want to film anything. I was just like,
if you turn off, just an FYI, if you turn off contrast enhancer, it increases.
Or you told me that. You told me that.
Yeah. So double check that that's not, if that's on, you get lifted blacks, and it's just, well, it's like a U8G, but like everything is really bright, right? It's not as accurate, but, and so thank you for the super chat, Czar. And again, you know, Sony love fest right now, but I want to also go over some of the drawbacks. To be accurate, it can't get super bright, right? Correct. Because it's, like you said, it's toning it down, but in a store, yeah, it can. And the second thing that people love Sony for is it's very focused on cinematic motion. So what does that mean? If you have processing on motion processing, you get a lot of soap opera. People dislike that. Sony is working on, okay, people have it off. How does it look? So their big thing is if you turn off processing, the cinematic blur looks more natural. There's less of that judder stutter issue. Now, that means that when you turn processing on, maybe its soap opera isn't as smooth as the other TVs because it's focusing more on the cinematic motion when it's off. So that's another issue. But one strength, though, and I think it's becoming more apparent, is the Sony panels are consistently a little bit better in terms of DSC and
so you're saying quality control
or selection of the panel. Maybe they're using a different source, or they're paying a little bit more for rejecting those panels. And this applies up and down the range from their flagship LCDs like the X95J this year. Well, it's not released yet, but X950H last year, the 950G. Consistently, they had better uniformity than more expensive Samsung and LG equivalents, right? Not OLEDs, we're talking about LCDs. So for many of you who are sensitive to DSC, getting a Sony more often than not is going to give you that better consistency in terms of uniformity. And then we're going to jump. Oh, and if you're waiting for, well, which one's most reliable? After I go through all the brands, we'll strike reliability at the very end, because I think there's a different reason why reliability is an issue among all of them. So LG is now known for gaming. Maybe 3 years ago, it was known for OLED and its IPS panels or whatever. But I think in the last 2 years, by fully supporting HDMI 2.1 and making sure it works on freaking 4 ports, that's like, to this day, let's say
they're the only manufacturer.
Yeah,
they're the only manufacturer.
3 model generations: C9, C10, C1. Still the only one with 4 working HDMI 2.1 ports that have VRR on offer. That really elevates them. Now, everyone's asking, well, what about everything else? Well, everything else, they are behind Sony in terms of a few things, right? And I'll show you the samples now.
But we're talking like behind by hairs.
Yes,
we're talking about, like, so when I was judging the 4K TV shootout in 2019 at Value Electronics, big shout out to Robert Zahn for having me on as a judge. That was an awesome experience.
Yeah.
The Sony A9G won that year, right? Over the Q90R Samsung. There was, I think, the Z9D was there as well.
Wow. And, yeah, that was the last year, right?
Yeah. And the LG C9. The LG C9 was like, and the Sony A9G it was very minute, the differences. And even though the Sony one, I went ahead and purchased the E9, which is the same as the C9, right? Just a little bit fancier looking because of the features. Even though it's slightly better, I wanted for HDMI 2.1 ports because I knew that I would be getting the consoles into test. So at that time, that was the only TV offering those, except for like the single port 8K from Samsung. And was that it? I think that was it, right? Yeah. In 2019, yeah, that was the only one. So it's one of those things. Like, yeah, it could, the Sony, and to just tangent backwards a little bit, where you're saying Sony doesn't get as bright. When I'm talking to the guys from Epson, about their projectors, you're balancing 3 things: resolution, color, and brightness. As soon as you jack up the brightness, the colors shift. Just like I talked about raising the gamma on that Q90T. As soon as I did that, the colors shift. So when you want a more accurate color, you might have to bring down the brightness, which I had to do with the Hisense H9G as well.
Right. And I should be fair to Sony. When I say brightness, because when you said the Z9D, it hit me. Yeah, the master backlight, right? The backlight master drive, one of the brightest TVs you could buy, but Sony got away from that. So just to let people know, it's not like I don't think Sony has been bright before. It's just today they're not playing in that game unless you get the 8K Z9G, which was, again, a brightness monster. But we're talking about everything between $500 and, let's say, $3,000. Sony TVs, more likely than not, will be less bright than the competition for similar prices. And Vamps, thank you for the super chat. A little bit more info. He got his A90J ordered, and there'd be $1,000 price drop once retailers get set in for a month or so on the 83. Hey, like we say, wait, everyone, and Techno Dad.
That was my alarm to wake up today. Sorry, I woke up early just just because it had.
Hey, this is a question for you, Techno Dad.
That's
He
awesome.
loves the U8G. When are you going to get this TV to review it, man?
I asked Hisense to send me one, so I'm just kind of waiting. I'm waiting in the wings. So
Yeah, maybe I have yours. Maybe I should give them back theirs, and then you'll get it over to you. Are you getting the 55 or the 65?
I need a 55 because
That's
again,
why
I need to move them
65s
around.
out first.
Yeah,
That's why. Yeah.
yeah.
And well, let me go back to LG since this question goes to him. Hey, David, thank you for the super chat. Still have the flicker in 4K 120 frames per second in most games. This is on 2 different QN90A. Got a replacement yesterday.
Interesting.
So this is why we're saying gaming in the LG, these kind of issues do not happen. And let's talk about why. LG gaming on an OLED. The OLED is definitely a different technology than the QLEDs, where you have multiple layers, right? You have the LCD, you have the color filter, and now you have the mini LED layer. All of that has to work together. On the OLED, it's a bit simpler, so it's easier for LG. Sony apparently is still trying to figure this out on their OLEDs, but what is up, Sony? But LG is able to take better control of their panel because they don't have to do so many control layers with VRR and 4K 120, right? These things are moving fast. So now the good news is on the QN90A, even though you're having issues of flicker, still better than the Q90T before that, right? The issue has always been the VRR implementation. So David, let us know what happens and where you need to go.
Yeah, are you trying to get VRR going? I was playing Call of Duty all last night on the Q90A. I didn't go into all kinds of settings. I just made sure I was playing 4K 120 HDR. I don't know if I had VRR switched on or not, but it was working without any kind of issue. And one cool thing, because I carry these TVs around a lot.
Oh yeah,
the QN90A is a lot thinner, and then the
Q90T. Isn't it?
I would say at least by a 1/4 to 3/8 inch thinner, which I'm really excited about because I got to carry that sucker and move it around.
Dude, it's less than an inch thick.
It's
not an OLED.
Yes, it is.
Who would have thought, right? So I'm impressed.
The mini LED. Yeah, they got the mini LED in there, so it went down from like 1 1/4 inch down to 3/4 inch, I believe.
Oh wow!
I think this goes to the Samsung punch. So LG and Samsung, you see LG's focus, right? With limited resources, LG Electronics wants to give you certain features that work really well. Samsung is trying to be premium, and they're succeeding, right? When I say punch, I mean they want to stand out, both cosmetically. Consistently, the Samsung looks better. Their QLEDs look amazing. You're paying extra for chrome trim, matte aluminum. I mean, you guys have seen the QN90A. Dude, that looks more premium than any of the Sony TVs put out in the quote-unquote premium 4K era, because they're just going for that extra whatever. And a lot of times Sony and LG, a lot of their technology is behind the scenes. It's inside the case. Samsung puts it on the outside. I mean, look at the remote, right? So Sony had this freaking same remote for 5 years, shared across all their lines. And Samsung is like, now you have a solar remote, right? And like, wow. I mean, and this is what you're paying for, honestly. And punch also refers to Samsung wants to draw attention to their picture, and that's brightness. More often than not, they are the brightest TV, even though it may be off. The Q9FN, the Q8FN being huge examples, or the older one where it was just so bright, and people are still wonderful memories of the KS series, right? Super bright, right? And the QN90A, you see it, right? The reputation continues with Samsung. Now, those of you buying Samsung, though, here's the drawback. First, implementation of the little things. We're talking eARC. The little things that don't relate to its core
picture quality, right? Like what you need a TV to do is you need it to display pictures and it look good. I mean, to your point,
pictures.
To your point, when I walked into that room, the first TV I looked at, I'm like, that's got to be the Samsung, because it just has that saturation and punch. And I was right. I'm like, that was the Q90R, and I was just like, damn, look at that.
Yep. And Cedric, LG for gaming, you can't go wrong. Now, Samsung you would get because of many reasons, but gaming is not number one. Yes, Samsung does support gaming and VRR, FreeSync Premium Pro, but right now people just want it to look smooth when you're gaming. And a quick question for you, Techno Dad. Joe Woody, thank you for the super chat. Seeing the Denon 8500 Z8HA come out? Heard anything about the 6700? Will it come out? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's going to be a while because the Denon X6700H has been on back order since November of last year.
Yeah, correct.
There have been major shipping issues. And even with my dealer friends over at Dream Media Home Theater here, I will look at inventory right now live. Sold out. There's nothing. 2700, 3700, 4700, 6700, and 8500. It's been like that it's been sold out for months. It's pretty bad. So if you can find so when will the HA come out? No clue.
No clue.
Yeah.
And here's a great question relevant to what we're talking about in terms of image quality. Did any of you analyze the AI Picture Pro extensively? So AI Picture Pro refers to not just any one brand, actually. Every brand now has an AI Picture Pro of some sort. Sony calls it the XR cognitive intelligence, but what does it do? It takes the original creator's intent and they try to add a little bit of something. And the irony here, I think, is, so Samsung this year went with, what did the creators intend? They wanted to go and pull back some of that craziness so that they could compete with Sony. And in some of the comparisons you'll see later, they actually has succeeded. So I was pretty impressed by that. And I will analyze the various AI Picture Pros, its links. So we'll see in probably a week or so, which kind of takes us to Hisense, which cuts out the flack, right? They took the core value of what Samsung wants to do, which is, let's just focus on image quality. Forget the chrome bezel, forget the amazing three-dimensional audio, forget just even the Tizen. It takes a lot of money to support Tizen. If you guys have a Samsung, that thing is amazing. But you know what? Samsung literally has to have an entire software division just to manage Tizen. Well, Hisense is like, you know what? Just give me Android, and not even the latest Google TV. What is your cheapest Android? And we'll make it work, right? And we focus all of our budget on the performance. And this year, or last year, the H9G, well, the year before that, the H9F. H9F got my attention. H9G really impressed me. And now this year, the U8G, wow, blow for blow. It's finally figured out literally what Samsung has been doing, and that's all it's going to do without mini LEDs. So I was very impressed by what Hisense has done. So with Hisense, you save money, but you're not getting everything that you might want and you might not need. So I think this is kind of like what we talked about, guys, where you said, why can't we get one TV and add on different features? So Hisense took the opposite. They stripped away most of the features, leaving, like, there's no AI, the bare minimum. HDR quality, super bright, less blooming than normal, right? About the same level of blooming, or a little bit better than the QN90A, and the same deep blacks. Well, no, less deep black than QN90A, but no mini LEDs. So
a little more brightness,
right? But it pops the brightness, and it's, well, $300 more though. So now we go to the value brand, which is now TCL. So Hisense, in order to do that, they kind of had to bump up the price. And I know what TCL did this year. They knew that they released a new model, it would have to go up in price based on what we're seeing. So instead of doing that, they said, look, we know Hisense is going to add a new lineup, but it's going to be more expensive. We're just going to continue to produce our sunk cost, which is the R635. They've already invested in it. They don't have to raise prices on it. They're still going to make money on it, actually more money this year if they continue to carry it over. So TCL is saying, look, Hisense will give you the $1,300. We'll take over the $1,000. And now later in the year, they will offer a high-performance OD0 to compete with the best, but it's not out yet. And Hisense is offering the dual cell in summer to claim that, hey, we are cutting edge, just like Samsung, but it comes with a price. It's a 4K TV that costs as much as the OLED TVs. And then suddenly people are like,
$3,500.
seriously, right?
Yeah, when I saw the price, I was like, whoa.
Yep.
Whoa.
And look at how fast the prices are dropping right now, right? And so one of the things,
okay. Let's talk about that. Hisense, $3,500 on a Hisense, or do you get the 77-inch A80J? Like
77-inch A80J.
What was I missed that question. I want to hear it.
$3,500 for the Hisense 75-inch dual cell, or the A80J 77-inch.
Same price.
That'd be tough, man. That'd be tough. It would be tough not to get the OLED. I mean, unless you're talking like that Samsung QN90A, you're not getting anywhere near the black levels of OLED, you know? And so I don't know, it'd be tough for me not to want to get that 77-inch A80J. Oh, sweet. This is cool looking.
Oh, yeah, you guys like this, right?
Yeah, I like it, dude.
FOMO, did you spend like 4 hours getting all this stuff ready? Because you look like you are ready to go today.
Yeah,
dude,
no,
you're not
got
messing
everything.
around.
This is part of my A90J review.
Yeah,
because people are wondering, hey, what does A90J bring to the table? I mean, people are saying it's bright. And so this is where we have to dive into the compromises of an OLED. So this will kind of tell the story. So this is the...
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Just so people are checking, I know that FOMO likes the Hisense TVs, but it's not just because he wants to promote the brand. It's because it's really good. And like, I see questions of people saying like, oh, I'd never buy a Hisense, but I still like this stuff. The Hisense TVs are really good for the price. I was surprised. If you want to buy like an X900H or X90J or like X95J, those TVs are good, but they're like twice the price of these Hisense TVs, or like, you know, you're paying another 40% just for the Sony name, which is why he's going to these points about like the fact that you can strip away a little bit of the, you know, that no XR processor, but more or less the same quality. And, you know, and you still get really good performance. So sorry to interrupt you there, but I want to validate the point that it's hard to tell people about a new brand like a Hisense TV that's not as popular. But it's a really good TV for the money. It's just, that's what it is. It's the truth.
It definitely is. And then remember, it's all about how it fits in your lifestyle, in your space, because I had the H9G up in the bedroom and my wife is she has to go to sleep with something on. And she's like, the jump from 0 volume to 1 is too much. So I put the TCL R635 back there and she's like, Roku. She loves that Roku. So, you know, there's a lot more factors at play than just picture quality.
And I think I'm going to address reliability, durability at the end, because there's a pattern that not a lot of people realize. They attach a name to a quality, but we're going to have the discussion at the very end, because I think that'll raise more questions than it answers. But this goes to Justin's point, because what I'm going to do next, you guys are the best. Thank you for the super chat. So are you. Love all your expertise and Techno Dad's humor. Speaking of TV shootouts, why do OLED versus QLEDs? It doesn't seem fair. All right, so let's bring this back in.
they're really just going off of the price. Like, this is Samsung's like best 4K TV. We put it up against Sony's best 4K TV, which is the OLED. You know,
we missed a few super chats, just so you know. I don't know if you want to get them.
Man,
we went over like 4 of them or so.
Is it Zona?
I see them. I see them now. Okay.
I just wanted to let you know. I didn't know if you're going back.
I apologize, guys.
Yeah,
no worries.
Go up there.
Here we go. Yeah, let's start with Phil.
There you go.
There you go.
That was the last one.
Yeah, let me do that real quick. Yeah, thank you for telling me. Sometimes it's like the thing jumps down.
It's a lot. It's a lot to handle. Yeah.
Hey, Phil, thanks for the super chat. What's the difference of instant game response and AMD FreeSync Premium and LG C10? And should they both be selected or just one with the Xbox Series X? Instant game response and FreeSync Premium.
Instant game response, that's just ALLM.
ALLM, right? Yeah,
that's auto low latency mode.
Okay, yeah. So it recognizes your PlayStation 5 Series X and puts it into game mode, so you don't have to do it manually. And of course, FreeSync Premium, you could turn that on or off, but essentially it's VRR. No one has been able to really identify the difference between the two. Ultimately, it ends up being the same thing as far as for all intents and purposes, right? So it gives you the extra checkbox. Hey, look, I have FreeSync Premium, but as long as it's VRR, no one's really knows the difference.
And remember, if you have that on, then the Dolby Vision will kick off too.
Yes,
I believe, right? So
that is a good
watch point. Dolby Vision off of your X Series X. If you have that on, you won't be able to get Dolby Vision when you're watching apps and all that.
Yeah, that's something that people have to figure
that
out.
Switch.
Yeah, you got to turn it off.
Hey, thanks, Christopher. These live streams are on fire. I agree. Sean, thank you for the super chat. You purchased another one, 83-inch Value Electronics. Shout out to Robert Zone. Hey, he takes care of me, and he's taking care of everyone I've sent over there. I think it's great to support the local mom and pops now that even Best Buy can't survive, right? Amazon's taken over the world, and I do what we can to keep them from doing that. Purchase the A90J from Value Electronics with quality control. So he offers to make sure that your TV doesn't have banding, all that crazy stuff.
They do,
and that's why and let me tell you guys, that's why I haven't gotten the C1 yet. He called me and says, I'm sorry, FOMO, but 7 TVs, they're all going back.
Dang,
they all have issues. And he couldn't give it to anyone else because QC. That's what QC does. I didn't have to do it, thank heavens. Now, Brandon, you mentioned testing with the Sonos Arc, which he has coming. Interested in seeing how your A90J and Sonos Arc combo. You have anything to share yet?
I promised it by next week, Wednesday, not this. I should have gotten it done, but I've been busy with the G1 install video. It's taking me all week. So I'll talk about that when we have a chance, but not yet. I was literally going to go do that while you guys were talking, but I didn't want to jump off the call here, but yeah, I'll get it. It'll by next Wednesday. I'll have answers. I'm
awesome.
I'm guessing it's probably going to work okay, but we'll just double check it.
Okay, hit us up on Brandon's live stream next Wednesday, and we'll see what happens. And this is a great question because we're in the U.S., we don't realize that Panasonic has something that many argue may be better than the A90J. They are the creators of the heatsink, the back cooling plate that Sony is using on their GZ2000. So 2 models ago, and then last year the HZ2000, and this year the JZ2000. They trickled it down to the JZ1500. It's like the A80J,
right?
Sony's A80J getting the cooling plate. The difference is the 1500 doesn't have all the awesome audio. Hey, get rid of audio altogether, and you can make it cheaper. I'll take it. So absolutely. I predict that the Panasonic will do better because I hate to say it, consistently for 3 years straight now, the Panasonic has beaten the Sony OLED, and maybe it'll be a 3rd year. So we'll see. And even among the cameras, some people say that Panasonic is the best deal in town when it comes to these kind of creator cameras. All right. Thank you, Pavel, for that. I'm sure you have a question coming up. Let me get caught up here. Robert. Hey, I have a Z8H. That's last year's 8K flagship from Sony. What LED TV this year do you recommend for me that will give me better picture quality?
Really?
So,
wow,
Robert, you're not going to get a brighter TV. Obviously, the Z8H is super bright, and it pretty much was a better 8K TV than the Q900 from Samsung last year, the one that I have, the 100TS. Miserable against the Z8H. Now, what you are missing is dark room performance. Z8H, although bright, bloomed and had lifted blacks. So the hope is that the Z9J this year, the Master Series version of the 8K, can solve that. But with the same number of dimming zones, I don't know if it can. I'm hoping that it's using a better processor. It might. So as soon as the reviews come out, I am looking into that. So if it's good, I might get it myself. So yep. And Zona Wolf, thank you. Hate soap opera effect on TVs. Oh, I have something special for you. I'm talking to a motion processing company that works with Hollywood. So there's something special coming down the pipe. I'm going to leave you guys a teaser about that later. Worry about ghosting or clipping. For gaming and movies, which handles motion better? 90J or C1? So the good news for you is the C1 has caught up to the A90J based on many people's impressions. I haven't been able to test them head-to-head personally, but I'll take a lot of people I trust. I'll take their words for granted. This is actually true because they also are sensitive, and they've always labeled the Sony A9G above previous LG OLEDs. And they told me this year, first time, the C1 actually did it. So the fact that you include the word gaming in there, you got to go with LG C1. Now that its motion has caught up to the A90J, A90J just doesn't game 4K 120 at all very well. I mean, you got a list of issues. Don't even go there if you're interested in gaming. Okay, let me rush through that. And all right, Justin Bergmans, thank you. You guys are the best.
This is the one. You already went to this one.
Oh, we're caught up. There we go.
Right,
okay,
we're
all right.
up.
Now we're on.
There's 2 more, but it's all good.
Okay, I think we'll do it. Okay, here we go. So, hey, Brandon, thank you for that. We'll look for your question somewhere, and then we'll take care of it.
I love these things, FOMO. Like, you could really see exactly what's happening here.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah. These are like some of the best. And you even have the DVD sitting there. Like, that's
you like that? Yeah. I'm trying to raise my game for everyone. You know what I'm saying?
Your game is solid.
Google Chromecast versus Apple 4K TV. I'm gonna let people who have the new Apple 4K TV answer that. And I know Classy is actually reviewing the 4K TV. Hey, Classy, if you're still there, let Christopher know what you think of Chromecast TV, because I know Google TV has a new version that was out in 2020. I'll have the new Apple in a month or so, and I can look at it. But ultimately, right now, I can't answer your question, but hopefully Classy will. All right, now let's check out this.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have on the top right-hand corner, the A90J, top left-hand corner, the QN90A, Samsung's flagship 4K, and the bottom left is the U8G Hisense. Okay, so how the color works is blue is the least bright, that's the shadow layer. Green goes into the midtones, yellow is bright, and red is the peak.
Super bright.
Right. Yeah. So what I did was I used red as the brightest level. And in this scene, all three TVs hit the same peak brightness. And this is why I said the A90J did it. The U8G does not hold back. All three TVs were set to 100 brightness, right? I maxed them all out. And the Sony, though, I did not put it on contrast enhancer because that could also raise its brightness a bit more. I did not do that because the A90J, you don't have to do that this year. It will hit peak brightness even with contrast enhancer off in some scenes. So what you see here, watch the green here on the shoulder of the this guy right here, right? Green and yellow is a little bit brighter, but look at the QN90A. It is so close to the OLED with minor differences here and there. This is what
it looks like his arm, the kids' heads are greenish.
That QN90, this is why I like it so much. Okay, so in this scene, look at that, right? So right there, and as you come in, and this is where it's kind of weak, and this is why a lot of people are complaining about the QN90A is right about here.
Oh, wow.
Go. Okay. It took it too seriously. What did it do? You see how the Sony perfect dark against this bright chandelier. QN90 tried to do this, but what did it do? It then crushed.
It dimmed it down. Yeah.
OLED did not do it. Now, of course, this guy asked, screw the wall. I'm going to make everything bright. And the funny thing is, it worked out. Even though this is a bit brighter, the chandelier was so bright, it made up the difference. And look at the ground, right? So on the ground, there's actually writing. So the U8G, you could really see that writing. Here, it's a little bit dimmer. And in the Sony, it's a little bit more contrast. So the QN90A, trying to be an OLED, lost to the U8G. Now, if you turn on contrast enhancer, this is where a lot of people are telling me, oh, you should turn on contrast enhancer. Agreed. It will be just like this, but worse. So this becomes even brighter than the U8G. So its contrast enhancer does get bright, but then you lose all control. And so you lose what you're paying for in the QN90A. You might as well get the U8G. And then we're going to go into the next scene. But this really lets you see why the QN90A is so proud. Okay, so this is the classic fire guitar,
this is
right?
a good one. Yeah.
Okay, so here, you look at the A90J, you see, it doesn't get as bright as these two, right? So the green, this is a little bit bright. This one's not as bright because look at the size of the screen. It cannot light up the screen like that. Here, it's lighting it up, but look at the blacks on the QN90A matching the OLED in this scene. Well, it's not really black, but this is the darkest areas. Here, it is a little bit lifted because they're going to go for ultimate Mad Max impact. See right there? This thing is so bright. Even the Sony, not yet. At this scene, it couldn't match it. At some point, though, it'll get close. And it's getting closer.
Because the window's getting smaller on the bright window.
Yeah.
But look at what it did here. It got bright in the little chrome areas, and the Samsung couldn't do that. And I noticed that right away. So on both this TV and the A90J, that chrome really popped. And this is when I was interviewing John Riformato, and he was saying, I don't understand what Sony did, but it's like everything looks three-dimensional. It's this, right? They make these little details pop. Samsung couldn't do it. Now, U8G did it, but everything is lifted around it. But it's so bright. That's okay. So again, that's the compromise that the QN90 decided to have in trying to fight. So now, OLED versus OLED. Some of you are wondering, how does the A90J compare to last year? So as you can see, now I'll have to tell you what the settings are. Both are maxed out and both are on enhanced contrast at their brightest setting. So both TVs are going super bright because I said, look, the LG C10 can get as bright as the A90J if you put it on contrast enhanced or dynamic, right? The dynamic. But look what it did. It blew out everything. Sony, bright, the background stayed darker.
The detail is going to be there.
Yes.
On the A90J. That's what I'm getting from these two images.
You see that? It matched the brightness, but everything around it's like clipped.
And that's the problem with the C10 too, is I think that if you looked at some of the numbers, that the A90J with the ABL kicking in actually doesn't perform full screen quite as good as it could have. And the LGs are a little brighter full screen, but then you lose detail like you're speaking of, or blown out highlights. Yeah.
So right here, what I'm doing is I'm going to take both TVs down from their dynamic enhanced contrast mode, make them accurate, and then you see what happens. Right now, the C10 actually looks pretty good, but look how much dimmer it is. Both TVs, right? So now they're dimmer, but look at the Sony. And right there. Even though now this is very accurate, everything like this one, but what did Sony do with its XR cognitive? We're going to pump these points up. And that's what it did not do with the A9G. The A9G knew that these are supposed to be bright. It didn't have the horsepower to do it. LG can't do it because if it did, everything else is blown out. And this is why people are getting the A90J. So a lot of people are asking, wait, doesn't the A80J, can it do this? I don't know. I'm hoping to find out once I get the A80J. But right now, because of its cooler in its most accurate mode, this is a match in most of the areas. But then when you get to this part, it can't keep up. And so this is LG just still trying to do what it can, but without a heat sink, right? This is what happens. What happens?
That's a really good way. That's a really good way to show what you're getting for the extra money on these, because it's hard it's hard to tell people that like faces look more like full of color, or like small highlights are like just way more potent, you know?
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah, that's the only way I thought, you know what? I have to find a way to make it obvious, because sometimes everyone's camera is different, right? We always talk about this. The three of us use 3 different cameras, 3 different grading, 3 different video editors, and then YouTube compresses it to hell. Suddenly everyone looks the same. And I think this helps see at least brightness differences.
Definitely.
Hey, Brandon Himstra, thank you for the super chat. I haven't seen your question. Oh, here it is. Found it. Hey guys, love the show. I just purchased the QN90A 85-inch. Really love it. You're not the only one. Curious as to why we don't see more head-to-heads. QN90A, A90J, and C1. Well, you got the QN90A, A90J head-to-head right there. And once I get the C1, you will get that head-to-head. Well, no, actually, I'm going to do a G1 head-to-head. I am not going to do a C1 this year, only because once I discovered that the C1 is nothing more than a gimped G1, and people with a C1 could now technically make it perform like a G1. I have to get the G1 because ultimately the G1 is what your C1 can be if you have the new Evo panel. And we talked about this in our last live stream. So check that out. And of course, go to AVS Forum. They talk about it. And Keep It Classy is one of the resident experts about that. So yeah, the C1, sadly, it's a little disappointment. But this kind of takes me to what I want to talk about lastly before I forget, which is the reliability. So let's talk about where'd it go here? Here we go. Oh, yeah, found it. All right. Oh yeah, so we're just going over the images there. All right. And there. Okay, so the one thing that everyone has to remember about reliability when it comes to brands is, first, I got all this information from Consumer Reports, so it's not me doing a survey or anything like that. And what Consumer Reports discovered as a consistent trend, with a few exceptions that we'll go over, you get what you pay for. So if you're paying $3,000 for a TV, TVs in that price range, more often than not, are more reliable than any TV below the price range, even within the same brand. So you're paying $2,500 for a Samsung, it's more reliable than a $500 Samsung TV. There is nothing special about Samsung. What is special is what you paid. And this is consistent whether it's Sony, Samsung, LG, Hisense, or TCL. Now, let's go with the exceptions. TCL is the exception in that they've been able to jump into one tier higher. So they may be priced in the $800, $700 range. They're performing like a $1,500 TV when it comes to reliability. Hisense hits its mark. Whatever you pay for a Hisense, it's no worse than a similarly priced Samsung, LG, or Sony. So a lot of people saying, you know what, I for that price, I'd rather get a Samsung. Actually, you may get worse quality control on a Samsung because you've just dropped down a pricing tier from Samsung, with the exception of TCL being a little bit better. Now, the other exception, Samsung's DSC has gotten worse over time. And I don't know what's happening. So this one where you pay $4,000, $3,000 for a Samsung 65-inch 4K, 8K, you may not have the best DSC experience. And I think that's a problem for a lot of LCD manufacturers right now. They've limited the number of suppliers of LCDs it's all coming from. It's not all coming from China. Samsung and LG are still producing them. But whatever reason, quality control is not great even at the flagship. So for those who are worried about DSC, I recommend the OLED. But then the last exception, and I know you guys, we talk about this, it's the Vizio brand. TCL punches above its weight, Vizio punches below its weight. Oftentimes, its quality control for $1,500 performs like it's $800. So keep that in mind. A lot of complaints. And then with Samsung, there's one extra, I don't know. This is, I think, maybe subjective, but the number one complaint is Samsung has the worst customer service in terms of their expertise about their own products. When you go on chat with Samsung reps, they honestly don't know what they're talking about. So maybe they should have quality control on the quality of their support. But overall, talking about the actual durability and reliability, the more you pay, more often than not, you're going to get better durability as you go up the pricing scale, with a few exceptions.
And then you can go too high. Yeah, and then now it's a point of diminishing returns where you're not really going to get much. I've always said that if you're going to go with the one of the big three, Samsung, LG, Sony, you gotta get over that $1,000, $1,200 hump, and then you're getting a more quality TV. I think under $1,000 for a Samsung, Sony, LG, they start cutting corners a little too much, and you're better off going with Hisense or TCL at that point.
Oh, this is Phil's follow-up. So he had issues with 4K 120. He has the Xbox Series X, right? Was that his question? Let me see.
Yeah, no,
it's a series.
I wanted to comment to that on that point, because Chana had said he hadn't an issue. I had the QN90A in here, and I also had a Q90T, and I had X Series X and Dirt 5, and it was running 4K at 120 with VRR working, and I had no issues with it. I had no issues. I know the because I saw the VRR and the new game mode was working. It was 60. I was up to 119. It kept varying back and forth. And I played a game. I did a video on that. And then I also showed a QN9. Someone asked, I have a video of an A90J versus a QN90A as well. And I showed basically what you walk through in those videos. I explained in my video, but didn't have like kind of a technical backup like what you just showed. So that's great to see. Kind of explain it. You just explained what I saw when I did the QN90A versus an A90J, that I don't have the technical proficiency to like explain it as you did, but I was like, it doesn't look right. You know?
There you go.
Yeah. But Samsung, if they just got rid of the dirty screen effect, they would have a much better quality product. They're getting just roasted from all of us because they can't put out a screen that's clean, you know?
Well, that was your problem with your QN90A.
It basically ruined my experience. And unfortunately, it started me off in the review season here with like the first. I'm just like, come on, man. A couple of my reviews have the WTF after them, and it's like that one and the G1.
And that's the thing, is I don't share this, but a lot of my viewers, they tell me how much they love the QN90A, but they're on their third one because of these DSC issues, but they want it so bad because everything else works. And so, Phil, maybe that's a quality control issue, because I did play Dirt 5 4K 120, comparing it head to head with the U8G. I thought it was great. I didn't have any issues with drops or blinks or anything like that, and it had VR working as well. So
you know what is interesting is eARC was working, but not in the way that you want it to work.
For which brand?
The QN90A, this guy up here. So last night, my wife was like, "Oh, aren't you going to film something?" And in my head, I'm like, "Oh gosh, she's going to do it again. She's going to get me to go down and film something." And as I'm in the middle of filming, she's going to be like, "Dinner's ready. Why aren't you here?" And I'm going to be like, "Ah, crap. I'm in the doghouse because I know I'm going to need another hour."
Right.
So I just stopped everything last night. So basically what's happening is eARC is functioning, and I was running the LG UBK90 into HDMI 1 on the TV on the QN90A, and then eARC, HDMI 3 to the Denon AVR. And on the Denon app, I was getting Dolby True HD. The problem is the signal was Dolby True HD and not Atmos.
Oh, so you're getting 5.1.
Yes. Well, 7.1, but
7.1, yeah.
The issue was eARC was working. Now, when I turned pass through to off to auto, then it went to Atmos via Dolby Digital Plus. Well, it didn't say Dolby Digital Plus, but it didn't say True HD, so I'm going to assume it's giving me lossy Atmos when I have it set to auto, and when I have it set to pass through, it's giving me True HD, but not giving me Atmos. So I don't know. I'm going to try another. I didn't want to make a video about it yet. I'm going to try another 4K Blu-ray player just to make sure what I'm experiencing is what I'm experiencing. And the TV is up to date. It updated itself.
Hey, I'm so glad you're taking care of this, man, because I would not have the patience to experiment like that. It's bad enough working with HDR. Hey, Brandon Hemstra, thank you for another super chat. Hey, guys, great show. So I just purchased the QN90A 85-inch. Any thoughts on it or reviewing it in the future? I can tell you, this is the issue that I have with the QN90A. The 85-inch compared to the 65, I believe the 85-inch is probably the better TV because more dimming zones, and the QN90A 65-inch, I feel like they kind of shortchanged it because the size is small, but I cannot review something that large. So I know everyone who's had it has loved it. We have another viewer here that just can't in Germany, right? Tech Trainer, he loves that TV. So I will defer to those comments now. You had intentions possibly of reviewing it. Is that still your intention, Brandon?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna either get one of the two, the 4K or the 8K. I know digital. I know Caleb is. I think he said he's possibly coming back from his vacay to check out that TV too. So Digital Trends will probably have a video on that sooner than later. So yeah, I'm sure it's just we can't get all these TVs at once, so it's just a matter of us getting an opportunity to get them in the house.
And DPS2, thank you for the super chat. This is an interesting question. Thoughts on if inkjet printed OLEDs will improve picture quality for the consumer? Also, thoughts on Panasonic turning over production to TCL once up and running. So the last one, Panasonic is turning over the LCD to TCL production. OLED, I believe they're still doing. It's just LCD. They cannot keep up with price cuts and all the budgetary constraints. So yeah, unless you're a Panasonic LCD fan, their real strength is their OLEDs anyway. Now, inkjet printed OLEDs, it's not to improve picture quality. It's to save money. It wastes less chemistry, less chemicals, less materials. It has less steps. So although you might have to buy initial supply of equipment and special equipment, once that's up and running, the actual waste of the chemicals is much less on inkjet. So that's why they do it. We don't expect much to improve unless they're doing straight up RGB OLED, which is a whole different thing because RGB OLEDs tend to burn in if you push them too hard. That's why LG does not do RGB OLEDs. They use a color filter, and it helps with the burn-in. So it remains to be seen if you're going to get the level of picture quality improvement that you need. But if you do, it won't be as bright. I can tell you that right now. They need to figure out the burn-in issue for RGB OLED at the TV size. At the cell phone size, people don't care. And thank you, Vamps, for another great super chat. Technodad, question for you. Soon building an 8.1. It comes in even numbers, Technodad, audio system to go with the 83-inch A90J.
Got a center maybe?
Technically,
$7,000 budget. He can even
technically you can set up a surround back that's only one speaker. So in essence, you can do an 8.1. I told Vamps. I've been chatting with Vamps because I told him I needed his dimensions on his room. And then he's like, well, he really wants punch. And that's what punch is, that slam, that impact for movies. That's literally your subwoofers and how much air they're moving in the room. So we need to know, to make a better recommendation, I would need to know the dimensions of the room. So I told him to shoot me an email so we can get into more details there, Vamp. So make sure you hit me up, technodad55@gmail.com. It's already in there. But yeah, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is they always give me a square footage of their room, but that's not it. I need to know the height as well, so we can see, like, this room here is 1140 cubic feet. And so, you know, one 10-inch subwoofer is going to probably do exactly what it needs to do. And I have this rail here that's a 10-inch, but this is that rail 10-inch is like $1,500, and it's not made for small rooms. And it is a monster. I have to turn it down like past a quarter. It's not even at a quarter volume, and it is rocking this room. It's crazy.
Since we're talking subwoofers, I wanted to share something that a lot of people don't realize. So monoprice THX rated subwoofers, specifically their 15-inch and their 12-inch, dude, those things are built by the same companies that build it for $5,000 subwoofers. So all they're doing is stripping out all the digital, this, that, and the other, and it's just straight up amplifier and driver, and it is truly a THX level subwoofer. So we're bang for the buck, man.
Yeah, it's THX certified.
Yeah, it's legit. It's awesome.
But yeah, Vamps, there's a lot of options, especially with your price, your budget range. So yeah, just shoot me an email and we'll get into it for sure.
Hey, Victor, thank you for the super chat. A80J 77-inch with Sonos Arc. Oh, the whole system. Sub, 2 SL1s. I have HDMI 2.1 for PS5 and HDMI 2.0 with Ethernet. How do I calibrate for Dolby Digital Plus TV calibration? Okay, so those I think are two different things. Let's start with TV calibration. Your calibrator will handle it. I don't think it really matters. They'll calibrate and for HDR and for SDR. Now we have, if you have specific question, let us know, but it shouldn't make a difference for TV calibration. But how does he calibrate for Dolby Digital Plus? You have no idea what he means by that, guys?
No, I have no clue about that.
There's there's a little app on for the Sonos Arc has a little feature where you can utilize the Apple phone, like your Apple phone or iPhone, I guess, as the
like
kids
the
call
microphone.
it. Yeah, and you use that and you walk around your room and you hold it up like an idiot and it doesn't do anything. So I mean, honestly, basically all it's trying to do is figure out how far away your like rear speakers are from you versus like the center channel or like, you know, the fronts. So it'll give you you can go into the app and just manually raise or lower the rears as you want, you know, so it doesn't do a whole lot. You have to have an iPhone to do it though, because it doesn't work with Android. They're too cheap to collaborate. So
yes,
it's a solid system. I'm sure he's going to have fun. It's good for the, you know, for the smaller size rooms and just make it easy, simple stuff, you know.
Speaking of too cheap, this is a great comment by CyberGT. Thank you for that super chat. We don't get the Panasonic, but check this out, guys. Gaming feature, VRR FreeSync Premium Pro. Only Samsung is rated for Premium Pro, which means that you could run it with a dedicated AMD GPU running Pro on games with Pro. It's supposed to give you smoother control of HDR. No TV has it except for Samsung, and I have been unable to test it because I'm missing a few parts from my build to get it done. But, dude, I am shocked. So here we have Panasonic, new to the gaming TV space. Last year they didn't have a gaming TV, and they come in with an OLED 4K 120, and they punch Sony in the nose and surpass LG on paper. Now, let's see if it works.
Whether
paper,
I really wish we could get these in to review, like, or just to purchase, in the States. I really wish that.
Or maybe Robert can get a special one or something for us. Yeah. Hey, Magician, thank you for the super chat. Currently evaluating color space. That's one of the softwares, right? Versus Aurora Calman for 3D LUT on the 65-inch C1. Yeah, I heard the LG's 3D LUT is just so detailed. Well, you'll be playing with that, right? And he's selling his C9 on ABS Casper. And hey, are you guys looking for a great bright TV? Hey, Magician, let us know how bright is that C9 compared to the C1. Some C9 owners or 9th generation owners are saying it's brighter than the C1. And well, that should say a lot and it'll sell your TV. Hey, Zara, thank you for that. You own a, here we go. Sony 65X930C, found the A8H too dark. Yes, it is a little bit dim compared to the current generation. That's the 2020 OLED TV from Sony and could not handle Z8H Rainbow on dark screen. Bought A80J 77-inch today. Well, the A80J will be brighter than the A8H, but if you needed brightness, yeah, I guess you need 77-inch. The A90J comes only in 83 or 65. I don't know. What do you think? I think it's going to be brighter than the A8H. I never had the A8H. What do you think?
I had the A8H and it hit around 680 nits. So
the A80J is definitely brighter. There's no question about it. But you know what he's speaking of. There's both of them have good detail levels. Sometimes the A8H just seem dark. It does depend on what you're watching and how you have it set up. Because if you don't have some of the settings tweaked, it kind of just looks a little dull. But I think you're right. The A90J is the one that's going to start to rival some of these other, QLEDs or the Master Series LED from Sony.
Yep. Hey, Ivan, thank you for the super chat. You watch movie TV broadcast. Who's better, the B1 or the X90J?
Ooh.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know. The B1 we don't have, but we know that they have last year's processor.
So that would be the CX processor, right?
Yeah, the CX processor, and its upscaling was fine. Sony's known for its upscaling as well, but I think you're comparing OLED to non-OLED, and TV being mostly SDR. I think the B1 would be fine, right? I can't imagine it to be too bright. What are your thoughts?
I think both of them will be okay because if they're watching TV movie broadcast SDR, you're talking to the X90J is probably going to look better full screen in brighter areas.
It'll be brighter, yeah.
It may not be, as bad. They're both going to be fine, I think. And also,
I don't think you can go wrong. Yeah,
they should put that Hisense in there. The U8G is it? The new model. If they're looking for, I don't know if it's available. I don't know where that little squiggly line.
Yeah, it's in Europe. That's a Euro.
I don't know where that is. That a Euro?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if the Hisense available, but that's an option too.
Absolutely. And well, if that's your price range, you might want to look at a C10 because the C10s are dropping in price as well. But that's a great point. The X90J, it's the newer model this year. They did a few improvements. It depends if you like the OLED look with its deep blacks or not. So that's just something to keep in mind. There you go.
James Volpe, one of the newest comments, said he had the A90J. It's not that much brighter than the A80J. Return the A90J, just too close for the money.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that, James. And I did a video on the A90J, A80J, and tried to I showed the difference. It's not a whole lot difference, but it is that little bit more punch in the small highlights.
Hey, John. Oh, he did the C1 to G1 trick. Okay, so we talked about the C1. If you have the Evo, the new panel, you can go into the service menu, pull a few tabs, this, that, and the other, and calibrate it to perform exactly the G1. And the brightness, while only 10%, is noticeable. It's not a night and day difference, but still noticeable and worth doing. And so this kind of brings up what we talked about. A lot of people are saying the G1 is just a little bit brighter than the C1. But basically, you're getting a G1 for C1 price. And I think that's what they should have done this year for all the C1s, but they couldn't because some C1s have the older panel, which you could not push to that brightness without consequences, possibly burn-in or clipped scenes. So great, John. Let us know how that's working because a lot of people are saying, hey, well, if it wasn't designed for it, maybe you're going to shorten the life of your TV. But we'll see about that. A lot of people are doing this, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, it's 4 o'clock. I got to go take these prom pictures.
Go
for the teenager.
Nice.
So
thank you.
It's good seeing you guys and everybody in the chat. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. Keep those super chats coming. And I'm out.
Have a good night, Shannon. See you, man.
Later.
There's blue ghosting. I have not noticed blue ghosting, but if you let us know, COD, what scenes, Netflix, whatever, if you have a specific scene, it's easier to identify because sometimes, out in a vacuum, I'm not going to see something if I'm not looking for it. And some people are sensitive to these issues. So if you see blue ghosting, gaming or whatnot, let us know what the conditions are and so forth, and I'll try to reproduce it. The red one, I didn't even know was a problem until I went on Netflix, Crown, and specifically that scene. Then I caught it. So yeah, a lot of times when you guys have specific ghosting issues, one, it could be your unique panel and you need to get a swap or a warranty claim, or two, they all have it, and it's a processing design issue that needs a firmware update. But you won't know until you share and see if people find out if they have the same issue. Because I noticed that a lot of people were complaining of, remember that grid? We always talk about the grid issue, Brandon. Yeah. I didn't notice the grid on my C10, but when I started doing these bright scene comparisons, my 8K camera caught it, brightened it, and then I saw the grid. I go, oh, this is what they're talking about. But in normal content, I couldn't see it. So for me, the grid was very minor. But for some people, they actually saw it without having to brighten it up on an 8K camera.
Hey, a couple of questions, or people have commented. I want to just take a second, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
I'm doing, for the first time, I'm doing a premiere tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern. I'm premiering the G1 and the installation and what it takes to get that sucker on the wall, what it takes to hide a full like Legrand media enclosure behind it, and how you can wire it and get, an Apple TV or other, sort of device inside, which also would work if you were to get a Samsung frame and put the same sort of box behind it. So I'm going to be doing a little live stream at 7:30 in the morning Pacific time. And then that live stream will roll right into my premiere, where people can like talk and, tell me how bad my video is. I'm just joking. It's the video took me like all week to do. So I'm happy to answer questions during the live stream before it. And then it'll just roll in. It'll be a short live stream. I'm just going to do it beforehand. So, but yeah, anyone wants to check it out, come my channel at 7:30. You can set a reminder to do that live stream, and then it'll just roll right into my new video tomorrow morning. That's
it. If you guys have nothing to do and you want to talk TVs, Brandon's your man.
We're always down, right?
Yep. Returnal. So this is on the PS5. I tried to order Returnal and I think it was sold out. So I'll try it again. But yeah, okay, now I know. And if there's a specific move or scene, now don't go too far in the game, because normally it would take me forever to progress far enough to get to where you are. It was like, yeah, in the final stages of the big boss. So let us know where in Returnal specifically, hopefully somewhere in the beginning or in the menu system, and I'll look for it, or what you did. And sometimes disabling one thing or another might help, but we'll see where that goes. John Saunders, stop the FOMO and be the installer is 100% right about the QN90A and the DSE issue. It was great for VRR, especially the new game bar was great, but the DSE just killed it for me. Yeah, definitely it's an issue. And the problem with Samsung sometimes is they don't play nice when it comes to warranty swaps. They'll actually try to fix your TV, which most people are like, you can't fix this, but they'll try, and that wastes everybody's time. Hey, No Face, thank you for the super chat. 120 hertz BFI while gaming is my priority. Currently have a C8. Which TV supports 120 hertz BFI? Brightest OLED. So BFI in gaming, for me, BFI is still too dim, black frame insertion, but the C1, well, I'd say use the G1, because if you have a C1 with Evo panel, you unlock it, it'll get brighter. So G1 brightness, but it's not that much super bright. I think you should wait until LG comes out with its heatsink. That way you can get almost or the same or even brighter than the Panasonic and the Sonys with the heatsink. And LG, I think, has one of the better BFIs out there. I think Panasonic's is pretty good as well. So if you get bright and BFI, maybe finally we can see that in gaming. So, but I wouldn't recommend it yet. It's just, even the G1, I don't think it gets bright enough. And that's why I don't use black frame insertion. Hey, Brandon, do you use black frame insertion?
I can't. I'm really sensitive to like
the flickers, right?
To flickering. Yeah. And like I was in Best Buy, and they have this Microsoft like thing for their computers, and it like flickers at like 15. I don't know. The hertz on that is crazy. And I get like nauseous. It gets me like sick. So I can maybe like move up one notch on BFI, but when you go 2 or 3 notches on that or setting, it makes me extremely nauseous.
Agreed. I've tried BFIs, and I have not found a BFI setting from a TV maker that I like. And then if you don't make it heavy, it barely works. So yeah, exactly. We're waiting for BFI to be worked out and be bright at the same time. It'll come eventually.
And also with the motion getting so good on some of these TVs, like I just feel like the motion is good enough for me. Like I don't need that, because I just feel like, yeah, exactly. Like Keep It Classy is talking about just keep them to a minimum. And I just normally put up I just normally add a little bit of, motion flow I normally keep up, or the Cinemotion I keep up high, motion flow on 1 or 2, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing is I'd rather play with the non-BFI stuff. Doesn't get flickering for me. Hey, Phil82, FOMO, what do you think of Whisper Status's video today? I assume it's the video that he and I talked at length about. So a lot of you don't know Brandon, myself, or Techno Dad, or Brian. We're talking to each other off air a lot. And this involves his feeling about his channel's Tech Therapy. A lot of times people buy and they have buyer's remorse, right? And it's always about, should you have too much information or not enough information? And I really think it depends on the individual, because buying a TV it should be entertaining. It should not be stressful. And I tell him all the time, he balances me, because when I come in, I go, oh my gosh, we're going to get this next year. Suddenly, everyone who just bought a TV this year are like, oh, I'm not going to benefit. Maybe I should wait. But then if you keep on waiting, you'll never buy a TV. So at some point, you're going to have to bite the bullet. And it's like a car, right? Buying a car. You bought a car this year. Next year, they add a turbo for less. And suddenly you're stuck with a car without a turbo, or worse fuel efficiency, or they added this, that, the other. If you buy a TV every 5 years, just know that 5 years from now, it'll be a better TV. And you just have to move on.
I think we got a couple missed comments up a little higher before that BFI one, because I know Victor had just messaged about, I don't know if I have an answer for it, but we have a couple up there. The 0190. Do you see that one? It's about,
I see it. Thanks,
there's
man.
2 questions there. Yeah, no
There
worries.
you go. Awesome. That's why it takes teamwork, man. It takes a village.
Yeah, for sure, man. You need that. Absolutely.
Thank you, Danny Mada. Bought myself a Sony A90J. Do you see any problems in the long run when playing games like Call of Duty with fixed HUDs? It depends if the HUD is bright. Now, I believe Call of Duty is getting better over time. They're making their HUDs less bright. It's really that brightness that's the issue. A HUD isn't a problem. As a matter of fact, persistent image isn't a problem. It's just, it shouldn't get so bright. And FIFA was an issue for RTINGS when they did their burn-in. It's because their scoring board is really bright. And ESPN's a problem because their board, their ticker tape is really bright. CNN, their logo is very bright. It's all about brightness. And some games, the newer ones, you could adjust the HUD's opacity, right, to make it less opaque, more opaque, so that you could adjust it to how bright you want it. So yeah, HUDs aren't themselves bad, but just know that if it's super bright, it could be a burn-in issue. But if you only play that game among many games during the day or the week, shouldn't be a problem because you're varying your content. Hey, Victor, Sonos with eARC. Money for you guys to calibrate. There are a lot of calibrators out there. I'm not one of them, and I don't think Brandon is.
Well, it's weird because it says Sonos with eARC. So there's those 2 separate questions. Sonos with eARC, which TV? The Sonos works with eARC. I have it connected to a C10. I'm going to connect it to my 2 Sonys, the A80J and A90J. And I'll check that out. And then money for you guys to calibrate. Where are you located, Victor? There's people on the AVS forums that have that will calibrate, but I don't, we can't, I'm not like, I don't even do calibration, but Magician on here, Magician AV calibrates, and I'll keep it classy. So we got some people in here that calibrate. You just got to figure out where you are and who you so yeah.
And remember, ISF, their website lists calibrators, but a lot of calibrators suspended their service ever since the whole lockdown. Some of them are starting back up. Some of them still have not. So you got to call around. Hey, B, what is that TV behind you? Which one is it?
That is the LG G1 behind me. That's the one I installed. It's got the panel behind it. So as you can see at the bottom right there, no wires because it's got a media box. And so that's an Apple TV in there inside that cabinet. So it's pretty cool. That, just so you guys know, that was a beast of an install. So it's going to be a pretty crazy video.
All right. And this one I think is important. So here we go. Wait 1 second. Okay. Not to talk about other reviewers, but I myself have wrong info all the time. And sometimes, maybe a little bit further digging, I get the right info. And sometimes I'm wrong. I'm right today. I'm wrong tomorrow. I am not impervious to being wrong. And when I am wrong and I find out and viewers call me on it, every single time I say, hey, I'm wrong. I mean, what are you going to do, right? You're not perfect.
Yeah, that guy's been messaging and he's kind of just been jeering people in the comments.
I know, right?
He's just trying to be a thorn in people's side right now.
Hey, Patrick, thank you for the super chat. FOMO, do you ever game a 4K 120 on your Samsung Q90R QLED? Sadly, no, because that one is at home and it's with a very old, I think the Xbox One, the first generation. So it doesn't do 4K 120. So I haven't experimented on it. I don't think I ever will. I'll have to bring the new Xbox home to try it out. But I haven't tried it. It's supposed to be capable of 4K 120, though, just without VRR. And that's the thing a lot of people don't realize. 18 gigabits per second is fine for 4K 120 8-bit. You just don't get HDR, that's all.
Yeah, and to be honest, I would just be fine with 4K 60 on that, too. I mean, like 4K 60 gaming is totally fine for me.
Yep. Hey, Haplo, what are your expectations for the TCL AK6 series coming out later this year? How do you think it will stack against the U8G for sports streaming and movies? Okay, so this is an issue. 8K doesn't bring anything to the table on its own, but it does hold back a TV's performance because extra density pixels, a layer more pixels makes it dimmer. So now the TV has to burn more energy to make it the same as a 4K equivalent. And adding more dimming zones doesn't make it any better than a 4K. A 4K with the same number of dimming zones as an 8K will perform better than an 8K. But then you're going to say, well, doesn't it upscale better? The answer is no. If it's 4K content on an 8K TV looks like a 4K content on a 4K TV. The only reason to get it is if you get maybe a 85-inch TV and you're sitting close enough, then it may look a little bit sharper even with 4K content, but that's to me a limited use case and you're paying a lot for the 8K 6 series. But if you're looking for an 85-inch TV, 6 series doesn't come in an 85-inch other than, oh yeah, it does now, right? That 745 that you had. So you'll be comparing the 745 4K with the 8K version of the 6 series. The 6 series will have more dimming zones. That alone might be why it's better, but I am not a fan of any of the 8K TVs out there right now. And that includes Samsung. I saw their 8K last year and this year, pretty much the same. It hasn't improved much. So yeah, not a fan.
And I have to say, I have to say real quick that the TCL, I was a bit disappointed in the 745. I mean, I had expected it would be a TV that would be at least as good as the 635 or better, and it wasn't, and I just did an installation video on that, and it is what it is. That's the TV that they're marketing. It does need to come down in price, probably to about half of the price that it currently is at. So, so I would be interested in that 8K 6 series if it, had more dimming zones or was a higher quality of some sort, if it had other features to make it closer to like a Samsung or even the Hisense. But, we got to see what each TV brings to the table.
Yep, absolutely. And that's another thing is sometimes dimming zones alone don't tell the story. Who knows? Maybe they have something special, but more often than not, yeah. All right. My tech therapy is the A90J for movies and a gaming monitor for gaming. I watch you guys to keep up to date with the new TV technology. Well, thank you for that. Someone's got to do that work, right? But you're right. TVs are not gaming monitors as much as people want it to be. And the closest has been LG, but a dedicated gaming monitor has certain design objectives. And the LG OLED, first and foremost, is a movie watching, content watching TV. Although I find it surprising that it's cheaper than some gaming monitors. So, if you could do two for the price of one, consider the OLED LG. Hey, Lynn, thank you for that. You decided on a 65-inch A80J. Should I be concerned with eARC with my Bose 700 soundbar? Yes, you should. It works perfectly with my LG E6 eARC now, thanks. So as many of people have probably told you, Sony eARC is a work in progress. Now, just because it doesn't work well today doesn't mean it won't work well next week or tomorrow. So, but oftentimes people say, look, you got to accept it how it is out of the box. So if it's not working well out of the box and you're hoping for it to work better later, that could be an issue for you. So yeah, right now LG has probably the best implementation of eARC, if that's your concern. Otherwise, you got to think twice if this is part of your purchase decision, because the A80J
Well,
is a great looking TV. What are your options? What do you think?
Well, there's also the fact that the Bose 700 isn't an Atmos enabled soundbar. So, sometimes they run into the issues when they're trying to change the different, the different processing. So, I don't know if it's going to have issue just doing 5.1. So maybe
True.
you can actually even turn the eARC port off on the, you can just use the regular ARC on the A90J and not have to use the eARC, because the Bose 700 just does 5.1. So that might be a saving grace too in that instance.
That's a good point. Yeah, deactivate the eARC part of it and make it just one-way ARC. Hopefully that works, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just because it's not like the Sonos Arc has the Dolby Atmos, but the 700 doesn't. Although I've heard a lot of people say that the 700 sounds as good or better than the Sonos Arc too. So,
can't have everything, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Hey, Cyborg, thank you for the super chat. This is why you guys are the best. You admit to be wrong and not perfect, unlike some channels, but you guys are 100% honest. That is for respect. We're here for you guys, right? I mean, whether or not you buy a TV, it's fun to talk about it, and we want to make sure you have information that we feel is accurate, because if we enjoy TV specifically for something, I want to bring that out, but it may not be your use case, because you all know I love watching in the dark. I love HDR, and I tell you up front. So a lot of questions about SDR, I'll be like, Brandon, what do you think about SDR? I don't know.
I watch a lot of sports. Yeah. So, same thing. And same thing for me. I try not to say anything I don't know, because I don't know a lot of stuff. So, I came from more of like an installation and setup kind of background, and doing this, I'm pretty new to doing reviews. So I try to stay in my lane, but sometimes I'm wrong too. But for the most part, I have eyes like anyone else does. So if I have, 30 TVs in front of me, I have a pretty good way of being able to translate some of the, just some of the technical language more to the everyday kind of person. So that's kind of what I try to do.
Yeah. And what we all tell you is watch as many reviews as you can, because wisdom of the crowd. One person might have one opinion, but once you watch maybe 10 reviews, you have an idea of what a TV is like, because you could now navigate that information, because you'll see their use cases, you see how they watch it, and then you get a sense, you know what? I watch TV like that guy or that reviewer. So he's my use case, and that helps as well. So yeah, definitely watch as many differing opinions as you can, because then you'll see the differences. Hey, Jacob Marley, isn't that Scrooge, right? 1499 A8H versus 1899 A80J. RTINGS shows them neck and neck. Okay, so this is the problem, not with RTINGS, but with measurements in general. 1% window, 2% windows. These TVs can be designed to look exactly the same on those patterns. But as you saw, if you missed it, scroll back to the beginning. A TV can have similar peak brightness, but the way they translate everything in between the darkest scene and the brightest scene changes how you see something, right? So the A8H may be neck and neck at absolute numbers, but in real content, the A80J may be better, because it has the new processing chip and it has the newer panel. Oh, you know what? That brings up something that I think you'd find pretty cool. I forgot to talk about earlier, Brandon. Did you know that in Europe, people are discovering their A80J is dimmer because they have an older panel?
Really?
So now it's not all Sony TVs that I thought, but a couple of Europeans are saying, oh, we're getting a dimmer panel. And we looked deep, and this was brought to me, thank you, by Classy Tech, right? He saw some of the European reviews. They were complaining it's dimmer. So when we talk with Classy later, he's going to give us more information, but that leads me to believe, this is what happened with the C1s, right? We started seeing a bunch of Evo C1s. The next thing you know, the Europeans were getting the older C1s, and then the Americans got it. So hold to your breath, guys. There's no guarantee that we're going to get the brighter A80J later. And
for Jacob here, like if you go, for example, if you go straight to ratings, I already know this because I've looked, the 8H, it has in the, I think it is in the real scene brightness, it's very similar, if not better than the A80J. But the difference is when you look at like the 1% window, you have, I think it's almost 150 nits brighter on the A80J, or it might even be more. I believe Keep It Classy had said he got almost 1,000 nits on his small highlights. And so when you're talking about the 8H, which doesn't have HDMI 2.1, it's last year's TV. You know, they're both pretty good out of the box as far as their color accuracy, but it doesn't have that. It's older. And now you have an A80J with the HDMI 2.1 that's, you know, 20 to 30% brighter in the very small highlights. I would say it's worth it's worth looking into getting the A80J. If you can save 400 and maybe get a warranty or whatever works for you, if you don't game, if it's a dark room and you may not notice that brightness difference, go for it. But I would just say, you know, keep an eye on the A80J just because there's a lot better highlights on that TV.
And hey, Rick, this is a good point. Is Sony's eARC okay if not used with Atmos with 4K 120? I honestly don't know because I just don't. It's so hard. The problem with eARC in general, and everyone considering a TV with eARC, not only does the TV have to work and play nice with eARC, but the device you're plugging it into, whether it's Sonos, Monoprice, Vizio, TCL, everyone has an eARC capable soundbar. They don't all play nice with each other. So it's also between devices that may or may not work well. So yeah, Rick, maybe on some soundbars it works and on some it doesn't. It may all work except for 4K 120. It's a moving target. And then with a firmware update, maybe it will work at some point. So yeah, that's why I try to avoid answering eARC because one day it works and then you have firmware, now it's broken. So.
And I would believe that. I think in general, eARC works fine on Sony's. I think it's fine. It's just a matter of with the Atmos, and then yeah, you're starting to put variables in there. And like I said, even with an Apple TV 4K into a LG C10, it still had eARC issues. There was like cutouts. So you know, you just kind of have to like, and people have to go and complain to these companies so that they know and they'll fix this. You know, because people hit me up and say, hey, it doesn't work. What do I do? And I'm like, call Sony. I can't do anything for you. I don't, you know, like I don't make these, I don't have computer software to like patch in for you, you know, although I appreciate the questions on Instagram and, you know, find me on Instagram, follow me, but here's the place to ask questions right here on these live streams.
Yes. And like this question right here, hey, 55-inch QN90A, good TV versus the LG OLED. Is Samsung more reliable? The answer is, how do you define reliability? If you define reliability, you get a TV, it has dirty screen effect, banding, and you're upset, then no, Samsung has that issue. But if you're saying it's going to work for a very long time, Samsung's, if you pay that tier we talked about, the QN90A is their flagship. I expect that TV to last a very long time. Now, LG, for the same price, the problem is that OLED will dim over time. We're not talking after 1 year or 2 years. We're talking maybe after 6, 7 years, depending how much you watch per day. But even then, the dimming, you'll only notice it if you measured it, right? So you measured peak brightness when you bought it, and then 8 years later, you measure it again. Oh, it dropped 80 nits or something like that. Okay, the Samsung is not going to drop like that at all. And that's why it's so bright to begin with. Even if it did drop a little bit, relatively speaking, you're not going to notice anything. So reliability, we used to define it back in the old days. Oh, my TV doesn't work anymore. At this flagship level, that shouldn't be an issue. Now, $800, $700, Vizio, you know, the cheaper TVs, maybe the discount Walmart special, right?
My Vizio, again, still the kids
doesn't turn
still
on.
Having issues. Last night they had issues with it. The remote just stopped working, and I walk in there, and then I had to unplug the TV, plug it back in. The remote works. It wasn't like the remote was out of batteries, or the remote and the TV just froze. It's just annoying.
Yep.
And also, as far as this goes, people always talk about like burn-in as an issue or quality control, reliability, whatever. You also have to look at like the dirty screen, and also have to look at like the LEDs on the TV can also dim on a QLED too. So, you know, both sides can have issues. Both TVs are fairly reliable. And you know what? Worst case scenario, if you have an issue down the road, you call them up and try to see who got, like you said, Samsung doesn't have that great of customer support. So go to LG. I know LG people will replace OLED panels for people that are even out of warranty sometimes.
Yep. And everyone who has an OLED and you think you have burn-in, when you call LG or any of your warranty companies, never use the word burn-in. We learned this from Robert Zone at Value Electronics. Thank you again, Robert. If you're listening, you're always a bed of useful information. Robert said, look, they'll help you. Just don't call it burn-in, because technically they don't cover burn-in. But if you say, I got this dirty spot, or this won't go away, I used a towel, something's wrong inside the TV, help me out, right? Act stupid. Do not use the word burn-in. Send them a picture. And if they say, is that burn-in? You say, I don't know what that is. I just know my TV's broken. Replace it. You're done, right? They know, you know. Let's not talk about it further. So that's what I like about LG, that nod, wink, wink, but they'll still help you out. Okay, James, thank you for that super chat. OLED versus QLED, bright living room. Doesn't everybody watch some combo daytime, weekend football, and nighttime? How do you decide? Okay, so I'm gonna go first because this is why I would choose the Samsung QN90A. In a dark room, you saw my examples, it gets very close to OLED dark. So if I have scenes where, okay, I sacrifice a bit of that specular highlight, but my blacks stay black, I don't see blooming, I don't see lifted blacks, that's pretty close to an OLED. No other QLED is even close to that, not even the U8G. And then in a bright room, okay, I turn on contrast enhance, I get lifted blacks, a little worse than the U8G, but it is the brightest TV, as bright as the U8G. So with the QN90A, you play with the contrast enhancer and the black detail, you're very close, but it's not the best of either, right? The U8G is the better one in a bright room just because it does everything so well. But if you put it in a dark room, it's going to lose to the QLED QN90A. But then what's your budget? I'm talking about their flagship. If you're telling me QLED at $1,500, you're going to have a lot of issues, and I just say go get the Hisense U8G. But their use cases, more often than not, if I hear bright room, weekends, football, I would normally recommend a QLED like the QN90A or even the QN85A or even the U8G or Sony X950H. We talked about how great and how bright that TV is. What do you think? I'm leaning on non-OLEDs because of his weekends with football.
Check this out. Go ahead and launch that if you can, what I just put on the screen.
Yeah, there we go.
Go ahead and let that play and see what happens here. Look at the bottom right of the Samsung if you want to remove that little question for a minute.
Yeah, here we go.
But go ahead and hit that up and press play. It's going to show you what happens when Joe Flacco comes on the screen here in a second with his thing here.
Can you hit play?
Sorry, my bad. Duh, I got to press play. Watch this. Here we go. Oh, my bad. Hold on, I got to rewind it a little
Joe Flacco. I haven't heard that name in a while. He's still around?
No. This is from like a year ago. Let me see here. Watch this. Where is it? There we go, right here. Oh, this is just the JB Smooth one. But you can see in the bottom right how much brighter the Samsung is, and look at how much better it handles the reflection. So if you multiply that by ambient light and windows, you know, I mean, it's a big difference. I think in this video I might show it more. I thought I had it where it was more, but this is another one right there on the top. You can see that the QLED, and on the bottom, look at the OLED on the bottom here where you see all that window reflection. Let me just pause it on that one so they can see. So that right there is minimal reflections against a dark background. If you look at the person in the middle of his shirt, that's a QLED right there, where that's a bright window on his chest on a black screen. So you can see how it knocks down that reflection.
Yeah.
And on the top, against a bright reflection on the Sony OLED, you can still see almost the same amount of reflection in a bright background. And then when you press play, why does it keep? Oh, I keep pressing the.
Hey, Caleb, how's it going, man?
Right, dude. All right. See, this is why I'm fired when I try to do this. I can't ever do this. All right, you might as well just take that out.
No, we definitely got the point. Thank you, buddy. That's awesome.
I'm fired, man. I'm terrible at this. I got to get better at it. Improve my game.
This goes to what we tell people all the time. When you guys email, text, whatever, right? Shout us out and ask a question. More often than not, when I hear bright room and I hear sports, you're going to get a Hisense or a Samsung or a TCL or a Sony non-OLED out of me. And I'm just trying to look for the best value that fits your use case. Because to me, the OLED is special in the dark. But once you get in a bright room, you're paying extra for darks that are lifted because it's ambient light. So, yeah.
And when I have my window open, I still enjoy the OLEDs. But, you know, it's hard. SDR on Samsungs is so bright. You can get so much more out of it if you're in a bright room.
Yeah. And I tell everyone, my home TV, the one I have at home, is a Q90R because it's in a mixed room, right? The kids watch TV all day on the weekends. There's no way I'm going to bring an OLED in there. They're like, Dad, why is it so dim? Can you turn it up? It's a Q90R. And I haven't brought any TVs back to replace it because I have yet to find a TV brighter than the Q90R. I mean, it could coalesce bright, slightly brighter, but it's not better. So it still stays there, right? It's probably going to be there until it breaks because there's no reason to replace it. Q90R, if it's still on sale, it'd be one of my highly recommended TVs for under $1,000. If it's still on sale for under $1,000, right? Well, it's 2 years old now. I love that TV.
I have a KS8000. It's outside. When I go
Yeah,
outside,
right?
we're in the middle of the day. It's sunny outside. We turn on that QLED out there, that KS8000. It is so bright. I don't even know why they make a TV like the Terrace where it's so bright. I don't need it. The KS8000 is as bright as a Terrace. It's 1,500 to 2,000 nits out there. It's just crazy bright.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all use case. If you guys are in a dark room, like my reviews are all in a dark room for that reason. If it was a bright room, I couldn't distinguish the differences either, because first of all, your blacks are all looking the same. Shadow details all look too dark, but that's a bright room, right? So that's why all my reviews are in the dark room. Hey, Big T Naples, thank you for the super chat. From last year. Oh, I guess you changed your name. All right, thank you.
No, I asked him. I said, "Hey, how do you say your name?" And he told me Big T, and he's from Naples. So I'm like, "There you go."
That better be it, right? LG C1 dimming down to 150 nits in G-Sync on PC. You know, honestly, I never heard that was a problem. So I haven't gamed on G-Sync with the C1. Well, I don't have the C1 to do so, but also I highly recommend AVS forums. They may have a gaming thread that they talk about these things, and obviously Reddit, right? Those guys, and of course our friends Classy. So keep it classy tech. If you can look into this, let us know, assuming you have a G-Sync on a PC to drive that. I don't know if you do, but good question. I didn't know. I mean, 150 minutes is a lot.
And Keep It Classy's been answering a lot of questions, and people are thanking him too. So definitely check out his channel.
Yes,
subscribe to his channel. He's got a good way about his speaking and everything. It's a good presentation, and definitely brings a lot to the conversation.
Hey, you know what? That brings up a reminder. Next Saturday, not tomorrow, we're gonna have a live stream. Now you're not available, Brandon, but Keep It Classy and gaming check with GK. We're gonna have kind of like a gaming thing that day, right? So it'll be me, those two, and Brian. These three guys love gaming in their TVs. So
I'll check it out. I'll be in Wisconsin. Yeah, I'll be in Wisconsin. Right? So I'll jump in, and I'll be on the side trying to answer some questions.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. So if you guys have hard gaming questions that you know I cannot answer, and I probably will be unable to, these two guys will, and where's Prasad? Brian will be there as well. So, of course, any other questions you have, I'll jump in. But yeah, it'll be very much focused on your hard questions, like this last one, right, about G-Sync. So yeah, that's fun. Hey, Brett, thank you.
Did you go over the question that Classy had said about the X900H? Someone got the return. Someone got a warranty return. Was it because of the VRR that they gave them the X90J? It was that question you just had up, just a little bit up.
Oh, wait, I missed it.
It said, stop the FOMO. Someone got Sony to accept the X900H warranty swap for X90J plus a $300 price difference. Big news. That was the one you just had up. It's just a little above the Brett Reed one here. It's like maybe like 20 messages up. But anyways, basically what they're saying is, well, I don't know, Classy, was it because of the lack of VRR, or what reason did they give them for being able to
Classy, post it again, and I'll get it up again, because I saw Classy. I just posted his comment. I forgot. Oh, that was a great comment.
It's all good.
All right. Hey, Brett Reed, thank you for that super chat.
What's up, Brett?
8:30 a.m. here in Japan. Coffee in hand. Oh, that's awesome. Watching us in the morning on C7 to start the day. Would be perfect if TV wasn't covered in burn-in. Hey, Brett, you do know that the C7 was before they had all the burn-in algorithms in place. C8 was when they started addressing burn-in with software. Hey, Brandon, you had a chance to test out the A90J with the ARC?
I haven't, Brett. Sorry, man. People had asked a little bit ago, so I said I was going to bounce when Chana and FOMO here were talking, and I was going to go test it quick, but there's my family's out there making noise. So I will have it by next Wednesday. I will have it checked out. And then Classy did mention that they had resolution issues, and then at 1K or 4K at 120 and eARC issues was the reason. They had to pay $300 difference to get that upgrade. So that sounds cool. I would have to say, if I had an X900H and I never got VRR the whole year, I would probably take that to Sony and say, listen, I want the X90J. You guys never made it happen. I almost guarantee you that some people will get a replacement, because that was a feature that was promised, and like it's not there. now I want this year's TV then. If you're going to not give me VRR, I want the new one,
Absolutely. And you know what? Why not? Before they clamp down on that and tell their reps to stop doing that, do it. It's freebies for the first 1,000. That's what I think is going to happen. Hey, Disco Dick, thank you. Welcome back for the super chat. Fellas went with a 65-inch C10 over the 75-inch X950H. He went with OLED over size. Amazed by 4K and HDR content, but I got to say, my Panasonic Plasma performs way better with HD content. This is a really good point, Disco Dick, because so your Plasma is native to HD. It was designed and built to look good with HD. And for the C10s and all these other 4K TVs, it's an afterthought for them. Hey, great. Most people will accept it. They don't think you're going to go head to head. But yeah, it's no surprise. And I'm sure the motion's better, right? That's another reason people love the Plasma. They felt the cinematic motion was a bit better too. Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, what do you think about this? Do you think A80J is TV of the year, factoring price and quality now?
I mean, I would say that if I had it, well, I mean, I think overall the A90J is probably going to be the TV of the year. But the question that I kind of posed in my video where I put the C1 versus the A80J is the C1 and the A80J, in my opinion, are probably the two best buys of the year, because you're getting like right now $1,400 discount off of the A90J. So you're talking about like what's a 30 or 40% discount for a TV that performs maybe 5 or 10% less than the A90J in both of those TVs. Then the C1 has better gaming features. So I probably would say the A80J is one of the best buys of the year. And I would say the C1 is also flying under the radar a bit because of the G1 A90J. I think the C1 is also fantastic,
Hey, here's a balanced view. Thank you, Brian, for this comment. So HD TV Test, that's Vincent Ho, put up a comparison between A90J and G1. What's going on with the A90J Black Crush? I really like the A90J, but that black level of performance is odd with near black. Okay, so I don't have the G1 yet, but I'm definitely going to watch that video and see what content he's using. And that may be the case. Maybe it does have more black crushing than the G1. I haven't noticed it right now, my A90J, comparing it with the other ones. As a matter of fact, the C10 crushes more than the A90J. So maybe it's relative. Maybe the G1 just is not much better than the A90J, but this is good. I'm glad we have a balanced view because it may depend on the content. Maybe it's in Dolby Vision. Maybe it's not in Dolby Vision. So it'll be fun to see what Vincent is putting up as comparison for content.
Okay, do you want me to put up some content real quick? I can put up.
Yeah, go.
Want to see
what do you got?
Let's. I don't know. Want HDR or do you want what kind of content? HDR or gaming or SDR? You pick.
Let's do HDR. Well, no, SDR, because I always do HDR. I suck.
Well, let's do HDR. You're right. I think HDR is better. Okay. Oops, wrong button. Sorry. Hold on. So how do I share a video? Okay, it'll take me 1 second to share. Share video file. Give people some cool. I'm going to put up a 4-way comparison here, so you guys get to see some of my best footage that I have here.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. All right. So we'll go.
One second. Is that it?
No, I'm right now. I just light it.
That's it. Oh, here we go. Wrong one.
Don't play too much of it though. I don't want to get it. Oh, here. I'll just like pause.
Yeah, you'll have control over it.
Okay, cool. So let's go. This is kind of a dark scene. Let's see what we think about the detail. Oh, that's a good spot right there. Okay.
Oh, that's pretty good. All right.
You know what? That's a little bit too hard to see, isn't it?
I could still see it.
All right. Let's just pause it. So what do people think about like this screenshot right here? If you had to choose, can you see it okay?
Yeah, I can see it. The two TVs on the right column look like they have either better shadow detail or slightly lifted blacks, depending on how you determine it. But yeah, the two TVs on the right look very similar. But yeah, the grays are a bit more lifted.
But you can see the highlights are, I think that.
But the highlights on the left are brighter.
Way brighter.
Way brighter on the left. The stars. Look at the stars.
In my opinion, like I thought that the two TVs on the left had much more detail, and I didn't think anything looked crushed. Detail level looked fantastic on those. Those are Sony's on the left and on the right of the LG. I don't think that the LGs are bad or anything. I just think, okay, here's another one. Sometimes they're like a frame ahead, though, so I also don't want to be a deal breaker. But I mean, in that scene right there, it doesn't look like any detail on the left side is like gone that is there on the right, do you actually that is a head. Yeah, that doesn't work because that's two different scenes. Okay. There you go. There's another one. Okay. So this is on the right. The upper right is the G1. The lower right is the C1. The lower left is the A80J and the upper one is the A90J. And you can see Dolby Vision Bright is much brighter than Cinema Home on the G1 and the C1 and HDR.
You know, you bring up such a good point that I'd like to address, which is the importance of shadow detail versus the importance of specular highlights. I think this is definitely content and preference. If you're watching Mad Max, I don't believe shadow detail is important at all, because most of the power of that movie is just the contrast between super bright and so bright, right? I mean, the U8G, although slightly lifted blacks, was my favorite TV of the 4 TVs I saw it on. QN90, the Sony A90J, the U8G and Mad Max, they were made for each other because that content really benefited from that just ultimate brightness. But then if you watch something like Pan's Labyrinth, where everything is shadow detail, now I don't care about the brightness anymore. I just need to see all the detail in the shadows, right? Where's that guy lurking in the dark? So they both have their place, but no TV is perfect. You choose the poison that you, I guess, don't want. For me, my first poison is motion. If it's bad motion, almost everything else a deal breaker, because it's either soap opera or bad stutter judder. Neither one is acceptable. So I'll pass on that TV and find one where the motion is acceptable, but then maybe the brightness and the shadow maybe not as good as the one with the bad soap opera or judder, right? So you guys have to prioritize your, oh, hey, this is a good scene.
Yeah, this one. Well, I'm just moving it around as you talk, just so people get.
Yeah, no, this is great because I see the shadow. This is exactly what we're talking about. So on the right, better shadow detail right there, right?
There's a little bit better on the right. Yeah.
But then look at the brightness on the left. And I think, you know, it's a little overexposed as the camera can't take into account both, but it doesn't matter. Which TV would you buy based on this scene alone? Those who want the shadow detail, hey, they're going to go, hey, it's accurate, creator's intent. But then Sony is pulling a Samsung. This is that XR cognitive intelligence. They're saying, we know you better than you know yourself. We know you want bright specular highlights, and we're going to punch you in the face with it. That's the XR chip on both TVs. It's not the heatsink. It's Sony doing what Sony thinks, which is a big departure. And LG is being Sony on the right, because that's what Sony has always been. Slightly dimmer, but more shadow detail. They're switching places.
Yeah, this is post-calibration. They were calibrated. Ninjisha and AV helped me out on that. And then there was another question. Oh, AI Picture Pro. No, I do not use the AI Picture Pro on any of the TVs. Everything's off. Like, you know, the only things that are on there, if the advanced contrast enhancing mechanism is on, it's on for all of them. I don't, you know, so I had these as close as I could have gotten to, you know, the same settings.
No, but this is it.
And I'll tell you,
so
they
obvious.
don't. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go.
When you're looking at these live, I would have to say I did not notice any shadow detail lost on the Sonys, but it, you know, sometimes the camera picks up what you don't see in person. But you know, this is also I would tell you the LGs are like 2 frames ahead of the Sonys here. So if I press play here for a second, it might be that cloud coming over, or maybe the LGs just had more light on it. So let's just go look. So right there, you can see. I know, but I still feel like it was like those LGs might have been a little ahead, because they are a little ahead. And I'm not trying to make any excuses for the Sonys, but it's rare that I would ever see less shadow detail on a Sony than an LG, you know. But that's another.
Well, let's say there is. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, right? It has a touch less shadow because they're going for contrast saturation. I think, just as a viewer, if you're watching movies, especially something like this where it's fantasy, maybe you go for the Sony A90J, because I know that's how Samsung sold so many TVs. And Sony's like throwing up their hands. You know what? We give up. Samsung, you win. You are the #1 volume seller. Done. We'll do what you're doing right now, because it sells TVs. And like you said, we're not defending either one. It's all taste, right? What is it you like? I like peak brightness against a dark contrast because it pops, but don't lose detail. And I think the Sony maintains some detail, but there's no wrong answer here. There is definitely no wrong answer.
And then let me just go to a bright scene, because I want to show the difference. Because here you go. Look at that. Look at the difference in these two. where the two Sonys on the left are just like brilliantly bright.
The color's more
compared.
saturated. Yeah. So now I see color. So now that's different. Color volume. I like that.
Yeah, but you can pull this off whenever. I just wanted to show a little.
Okay, here we go. And thank you for another super chat, buddy. You're on a roll here. I think forgot to say an A90J 83-inch about the price. 66. It's already dropping price, and a 4-year warranty. So, guys, it's no longer $8,000. I mean, I think you called it, Brandon. Right? You're saying, look, MSRP before it's even officially out, it's already dropping in price. So, I think this is manageable. If it drops to $6,000 by Black Friday, that may be within some people's budget. Maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, that's definitely a deal over the $8,000. You know.
Oh,
whether it's in their budget or not, like that's a solid discount.
Where will LG go? Now the C1's got to go down to 5,000. I tell you, if they're both 6650, other than gamers, I know you guys need your gaming features. No longer is C1 the movie watching budget value, right? You just go with the A90J for $600 more. So I think in no time the LG is going to drop to probably $5,500. It'll be about $1,000 difference at some point by Black Friday. Now that's fun though. I think that's worthwhile. A90J, thank you, Vio, for that. A90J 83-inch for.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
That's even better.
So, Vio, the answer is no. If it's dropping this fast in the first month of launch, where's it going to be by Black Friday?
Where are these people getting all these? I know I have an opportunity to get.
Remember those white vans with no windows?
Yeah. The A90J that I'm looking at getting, is like the wholesalers are looking at like $5,000 for it. So I mean, these people that are getting it with his details are fantastic. So they're getting it for like wholesaler price, straight from the dealer.
Pretty much, guys. Share the love, and we'll be doing the same as we get these deals and it's official on the mainstream. Because sometimes connections, this and that, military, right? But this is legit. 5-year warranty for $400. So, Vio, the $400 warranty, though, if you don't abuse the TV, it's not going to be an issue. It's not because it's an OLED you're getting a warranty. Would you normally get a warranty for a $6,000 TV anyway? My wife would, because she loves warranties. She is very cautious. I always fly by the seat of my pants because I say, hey, it's an excuse to buy another TV. And
or it's an excuse to test their quality control too.
That's what we say, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, you guys, this is your last TV for the next few years. Most people don't, and I'll tell you, what does Consumer Reports say? They say don't do it because you have a return policy in the first 30 days anyway, and most TVs that last beyond that, not a problem. But OLED, if you abuse it, it may arise in 2 years, but people aren't abusing their OLEDs, so I think we're okay. But yeah, I'd say wait though. What do you think? Buy now or wait?
I mean, here's what I would say. That's a pretty good price. If that's the price, $6,000, I would say it's good. And then also a $400 warranty. Does it cover burn-in or not? I mean, if you're getting that for a 5-year or whatever, that's like $90 a year. I would say just get it. And $90 a year to warranty your $6,000 or $8,000 TV is fine. It's a good deal. It's a good deal.
Absolutely. And for those of you who missed the beginning, it's okay. We could chat now. Come back and watch it later. It's long enough. C1 versus A80J for motion handling. Keep it classy. And I know you both have had these TVs. You see a difference in motion. I'm hearing they're pretty much on par with each other.
I think they're closer to each other than they were in the past for Sony versus versus LG. But I've seen some people say that people have asked me if the A80J is bad motion. It's absolutely not. It's fine. It looks great. People, if you want to look up these numbers, go to ratings, but the stutter is the same as the other ones. Yes. From basically all OLEDs have some stutter. That's why you have motion interpolation. If you're talking about motion smoothing and upscaling, no one does it better than Sony on these OLEDs. So
you have to have the right setting. I mean, we talked about it before. They have the Cinemotion setting. If it's high bit rate, set it on high. If it's low bit rate, turn it off, and then you're done, right? That's something that both an Ingestion and Keep It Classy Tech has asked people is you have to play with your settings. If it's on the wrong setting out of the box, that's what happens. And hey, Halo 88. Thank you for the super chat. My LG C10 makes me motion sick sometimes in movies. Hey, speaking of motion, I have an X90J also, and I don't get the same feeling. Hey, motion is personal. Some people are colorblind. Some people see blue. Another person sees purple. Motion is exactly the same way. If the X90J does not give you motion sickness, you're not crazy. like you, Brandon and we are motion sensitive. I hate stutter. I mean, even a little bit of stutter, and I would rather have a little bit of soap than stutter.
Yeah.
Other people hate soap. They'd rather stutter than soap. So if you don't like it, go with it, because motion sickness is a thing. It's real. And your wife doesn't notice. Hey, she enjoys both TVs, right? But you're the one that has to deal with the motion sickness. Hey, wait,
Yeah,
does
and
your
you can
wife
move those.
have a difference with that?
No, my family's fine. Whatever I set the TV at, they're fine. They're just watching movies. But if you have an issue with the C10, just slide those de-jutter, de-blur settings up and down a little bit and find the perfect combo for you, you know?
And for all of you out there who have the C10, I set mine to 3 because that's the jutter is 3 and the blur is on 10. And I find that to be the best compromise. Some people find that still too much soap, but I find it tolerable because it removes enough stutter. But the Sonys are still better than the LG C10 at 3. And this is probably what he's talking about, because there's no middle ground with the C10. And that's why I think the C1 is so much better in that respect. Hey, Benny, thank you for the super chat. With all of your help, he got an 85-inch QN90A.
Nice.
Great choice.
And a 77-inch A80J. Wow, nice.
In the game room with a Denon. Where is Technodad for that? Now just waiting for a house to get built. So here's a guy with a nice TV in a shed, right?
Well, I hope you don't have. Now what happens when those TVs are like $1,000 less each in the fall? I hope it gets done.
Enjoy it every day. And this is what I tell people. Look, man, enjoy your TVs. Get off the forums. Get off the YouTube. Just get out there, turn on a great Netflix movie, and just watch the hell out of it. Binge on it like crazy. I know Disney has a bunch of great releases coming out this summer, but that's awesome though. And that's exactly how it should be, right? Living room is bright, QN90A. Game room, if you turn off the lights, it's a cinema room. You have control. A80J is going to look amazing. And that's how most people, if they have the luxury, they should do it that way. Yeah. All right, let me get caught up here. And Ninjishin says Sony does 24p correctly. That sounds pretty final, and that's how I felt that the Sony motion is pretty consistent. Now, many people, you're going to read it everywhere. Oh, this sucks, that and the other. You have to ask them what is their setting, and if they give you the setting, then you can compare it. Because if they don't tell you their setting and they just say it sucks, that doesn't help any of it. It's like I say, oh, it's too bright. Well, you have it on vivid mode. Well, okay, that's why it's bright, right? Or it's too dim. Oh, well, you have it on this mode and your brightness is down to 20. So always ask what their setting is, and then maybe you can give them some help there.
Oh, Cyborg just hit us up there too.
Oh, Cyborg, yeah.
Got a super chat, but no, I didn't see what you were.
Oh, I was just going to say
professional reviewers
what are we? What are we?
Professional
are we
reviewers?
No, okay. To be fair, I don't get paid to do these reviews. I wish I did. Now, YouTube does pay me because you guys watch, but I don't get paid to do the reviews. I get paid for entertainment, right? But I'll tell you, I haven't compared the C1, but I will compare the G1, and the G1 has the same motion processor. So, and it's very individual. I may think the A80J is better. I may think the C1 is better. Your motion tolerance is much different than mine. And a lot of professional reviewers, I have to say, this is the first time I heard people complain at all about motion. In the past, my biggest complaint is they never talk about motion, ever. Right? Only recently did they start talking about stutter and judder. They just kind of pass through it. Oh, it has soap opera. Oh, it doesn't. And then that's it. So maybe they'll look into it deeper. But yeah,
I don't know what that means. I have to take a little bit of
grain of salt,
a little offense to that, because Chico says Sony Motion's so overrated though. Okay. It's not like we're saying it is like so much better. We're just saying if you had to choose between the two, Sony's is better. And when I look at every TV that I've looked at so far, I have a C1, the G1, the A80J, A90J. I had the C10. I had the A8H. I have not seen any LG product to date that looks better than the Sony products with regards to like upscaling, where the C10 and the C1 kind of over exact, and then they have some noise. And then also the same thing with motion. In my most recent video, I posted where I had all 4 TVs up with an old Back to the Future movie. And I had the noise. There was so much noise on the LG TVs for that lower bitrate content. And then the same thing with motion. They're very similar, but you know, I don't know what a professional reviewer is if we aren't, by the way. So it's all
and good. Yeah, we're not taking offense that Other people disagree. Or, it's like
Yeah.
if you're light sensitive, oh, it's too bright. Like, how could it be too bright? I can barely see in the dark, right? So it really depends on you, but trust the wisdom of the crowd. I'm very, and this is what Ninjishin was saying. We're specific to 24p content. You put on a Blu-ray, 4K disc, you put on 24p native, send it to your TV, you turn off all motion processing. On the Sony, if you set it to the Cinema Motion High, it looks natural. It looks like you're in the movie theater. On the LGs, in the past, there was nothing you could do with processing to make it look like that. It's either too much soap or there's visible stutter. And this year, they've, I guess, closed the gap. So it's just that Sony's always been there. And now everyone else is caught up. So if you call it overrated, yeah, maybe, right?
Another one with that real quick, that Bill Hubbard, sorry, talking about, see, it's unfortunate because my C1 looks like the TVs on the left and I don't have that kind of dim picture. Well, the problem is that you don't have your TV sitting next to TVs that are brighter and then have them exposed to the brighter TV. So of course, it's not going to look that dim, but these TVs are in, their best modes, more or less. I mean, it's not exactly the most calibrated. It's Dolby Vision Bright versus Cinema Home on the LGs, and Dolby Vision Bright just happens to be a little brighter. And I made a video on this, Bill, if you want to check it out. I show all these positive and minuses on both TVs. These are not out of the box settings. And, I show that the LG C1 and G1 are actually brighter than the Sony's in SDR. So check it out. You have to see all the different reviews. So we're not just saying the C1's dim. It's not dim. It's just we're comparing that in HDR, and the Sony's happen to be brighter in that instance.
And is it true to the creator's intent? See, I didn't even address that. Maybe Sony is going beyond the creator's intent. That's a complaint that many have had of Samsung. Their EOTF curve was boosted, and this year it's not. So everyone's a little bit different in what they like or don't like. It's very personal. Hey, Cyber GT, thank you for the super chat. FOMO, if you do a gaming session, chat, make sure you know what machines they are using. For example, PS2 will need a different TV to PS5 and Amiga 500. I hope they don't come with retro gaming questions. However, PS5 works on a Sony Trinitron CRT with HDMI. I did not know that. Never tried it, but hey, thanks for that suggestion. I'm going to punt those questions to both Classy and Tech with KG, right?
Yeah, Tech with KG.
Because they really look at this stuff. I mean, they love gaming. They game and they have all these TVs. So that's why they'll be on. But yeah, thank you for that suggestion. And up here, hey, Zara, thank you for the super chat. You think the A80J 77-inch will go lower this fall? Well, the rate everything else is going, yes, absolutely. And the A80J technically was just released in the last month or two. Without a doubt, if you're saying fall is Black Friday, wait for Black Friday. I believe all the TVs across the board will start dropping in price like they normally do, right? Nothing special. If you don't have to buy now, don't. It's going to be fun to see how low they can go, I think.
How low can they go?
And we don't know what Vizio's on. Hey, did you hear anything about the Vizio? They have a big launch on Tuesday, and their big thing was getting brighter.
Well, I have to say the Vizio OLED was already pretty bright. I mean, I don't know if it's more of the QLED TVs, but I'm not necessarily concerned with their brightness of their TVs. I'm more concerned about the quality control of their TVs, because not only do they suffer from some of the problems like the dirty screen that Samsung suffers from, but they also suffer from just hardware failures, Dolby Vision not working, native apps not working. I have to reset the TV, turn it off, turn it back on. I've gone to customers' houses where I turn the TV on, it just boom, lights out, and we don't even know why, and I have to take it back. So I would just like Vizio to come with some quality control and have their TVs be consistent. That would be my favorite thing. That would be what I would want of the brand.
Agreed. And, I think this is an excellent comment to end on. Thank you so much, Brandon, for being on today. And if you haven't submitted a super chat, it's okay. We're going to have more live streams coming up in the next weeks and months. So Chicho says, okay, Sony is perfect. LG has no noise issue. Okay, so as we always say, it's use case. I think we're pretty clear. Sony this year bumped up the brightness and the specular highlights. That's what makes the A90J and the A80J special. Human beings love brightness. And so, wow, great, it's bright. LG went the other way. LG says, you know what, we're going to go color accurate. We're going to give you more shadow detail, blah, blah, blah. It's not bad. It's preference. And this is why Samsung has outsold Sony and outsold Panasonic. They've taken over the world because brightness. Inaccurate, but bright. And Hisense, following that playbook, it's killing it for the same reason. So it has nothing to do with perfection. It's preference. People like brighter TVs, and Sony's realizing that. I'm not saying they're right, but just something to keep in mind. All right. Any last words, my friend?
Well, here, do you want to throw on that video I have? People want to see that
let's
noise.
do that. Yeah.
They want to see the noise. Here's the movie I was speaking about. Like if let's see if we can get it to play. But if you can see on the right, again, we have the two. Let's see if we can get it to work here. Right as he comes forward here, it's kind of like lagging, isn't it?
A little
lagging. Was it working?
It was. Yeah, I see it now.
Right.
There you go. Okay.
Okay. Here we go. I'm going to press play. If you can see on the right, here, let me get a little bit further ahead. Oh man. Like right in this area, you can see the noise on the two screens. I'm not sure if it's visible to them, but I did this in my video too. You can check it out. The LG TVs have noise. Again, I like LG TVs primarily for gaming, but on the right, the two TVs have a lot more digital noise in this, like in the left side of the screens. And you can notice where the Sonys just don't have much. And when Magician AV was here at my house, he saw it too. When we pressed, when we were playing the two and you had noise on, noise off, like the reduction, you could see a massive difference on these TVs. But it's just a matter, again, I just think that the quality of the processing and motion is a little better on the Sonys. I like both TVs. You'd never notice this if you didn't have the other TV there. So Bill and all these other guys, you won't notice these differences because you don't, you're not looking at all four TVs, but I would be just happy with your TVs. Don't worry about it.
And I think this is exactly what we're saying, Chicho. Your conclusion is like we're talking about hairs of difference, right? It's that last 1% where what are we doing? We're stopping the TV scene to scene. I'm running it through a thermal analysis, for heaven's sakes, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you buy any of these TVs, other than gaming, we know that's not so good with Sony, but if it's just movie watching, I would be happy with any of these. Even the OLED, assuming the Vizio OLED is working all the time, it looked just as good. So with that, guys, it's a wrap. Thank you so much for everything, the super chat, all that. We have them weekly, whether it's my channel or Brandon. Please subscribe, and we'll talk next time. Stop the FOMO.